All right, this is a quick walkthrough of the Atlas Looking at Data protocol for coaches. So this is a protocol that is based on the School Reform Initiative protocol used for looking at student data, but we know that coaches have a unique set of data. So in this protocol, I describe some specifics that apply to instructional coaches. The basic steps are listed here. Step one, describing the data. What do we see? Step two, interpreting the data. What does this data suggest? Step three, what are the implications for our coaching practice based on this data? And step four, what are the action items or things that I'm going to do as a result of this data dive? So let's dive in a little bit. Here in the first two pages beyond the cover page, you'll see the original Atlas Looking at Data protocol provided by School Reform Initiative. This is helpful to have in your toolkit for working with teachers as well, but the prompts are based on looking at student data. Oops, sorry. And so just keep that in your toolkit. Then we move into the specifics of the protocol that we can use to guide our own coaching practice. You can do this on your own, or of course, it's always great if you have some fellow coaches, you can all have a data discussion and use the steps in this protocol. So what are the things that we want to be doing in each of these steps? When we're describing the data, we're going to be looking and taking a close look at what do we see in the classroom observation data, in our coaching conversation data, any of those anecdotal notes that we've been taking. Are there any changes in performance? And what's the proximity to our coaching targets? How close is the person that we're coaching getting to the target or the goal that we set out to achieve together? And then when we look at step two, interpreting the data, this is where we're going to take what we just saw in that describing the data step and start to figure out, well, what is this telling me? What does the data suggest? Can I notice any patterns or trends as a result of this data? What's the evidence of execution tied to my coaching, right? Am I seeing impact of my coaching in the person that I'm coaching? And is this data telling me that there might be more support needed in a particular area or less support even, so that I can start to determine what is this going to tell me to do? Once we've taken a minute to think about what is the interpretation of this data telling me, then we're going to move into, okay, so what are the implications of that? Once we see that we have some patterns and trends, we can start to make some decisions about maybe I need to make some revisions on the tiered approach that I'm using with my caseload of teachers. If maybe I can back off, or maybe somebody has shifted a tier and needs more or less support. Maybe I haven't spent enough time providing support during a planning session with a teacher, and I need to get on the front end of instruction by planning some lessons with them. Or on the flip side, maybe I've only been in planning sessions and I haven't been spending enough time seeing instruction in action to be able to provide feedback and help the teacher bring those lesson plans to fruition. So we can make some decisions about where are we spending our time in terms of support based on this data. And maybe we've identified that there's some professional development needs as well. So these are all things to be thinking about when we're looking at our data. And then based on that, that's where we're going to decide, well, where are we going to take action? What am I going to try as a result? And some of the tools that we might lean on is our coaching continuum, our coaching toolkit. What are the things that we have in our belt, and other strategies that we maybe haven't tried with a teacher that we may want to think about doing? So what does this mean? In terms of being explanatory in a PDF, of course, there's some explanations here, but essentially, we just want to make note in step one. We want to make note of what are we seeing in this data? What do we notice? What do we wonder? Are we finding that this is making us have some questions that we want to circle back on? When we're interpreting the data, we really want to think about, like, what is this telling us? Okay. Is this telling a story about our coaching? And is that story matching up to what we intended to happen? And then again, this is going to guide us to start making some decisions about the implications of what this means for our coaching practice. It also provides a really good reflection on ourselves, right? If we're having the impact that we want, then great. Let's keep replicating those actions that we had in place that are keeping things going. But if not, that's where it gives us an opportunity to kind of say, like, we might need to make some shifts here, because I'm not seeing what I was hoping to see as a result of my coaching practice. And then again, we're going to try to identify some action items for ourselves. What am I going to do as a result of this data? Because having a data conversation is great, right? But not if we don't do anything with it. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about what kinds of supports might we need as a coach, right? Maybe we need to invite a colleague to come and observe us in a coaching conversation and have us get some feedback on the impact that we're having and the language that we're using. Maybe we need to ask our own supervisor to come in and do some observations or coaching and help us kind of increase the impact that we can have. We may also find that we want to get feedback from the teacher that we're supporting. Maybe the teacher has some explanation as to why the data is showing up the way that it is. Well, I hope you found this helpful.